If you or someone you know is seeking guidance, needs advice, or has a question about dating, relationships, and/or marriage, join me this afternoon, February 22nd at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific for my free weekly one-on-one Sunday consultations. You do not have to appear on camera and you do not have to disclose your real name. Simply follow the join link pinned at the top of the chat from any smartphone, tablet, laptop, or desktop computer, and I will answer any and all questions you have about your situation. And yes, ladies, I'm happy to help you too. Link in description.
And it was cool because I actually took her to see Titanic. And I didn't realize it at the time, but the movie Titanic told me everything I needed to know about female nature. And all these years later, it's clear that most men just don't get it. Think about it. Rose is old and gray and close to death. She's lived a full life. She's had a husband, kids, grandkids, a family, the whole bit. Yet, on her deathbed, she doesn't think about her husband. You know, the man who stayed, right? The man who raised her children? She remembers Jack, a broke stranger who banged her in the backseat of a car for less than half a minute on a boat. And she did this while in a relationship with a man who was rich, good looking, and willing to take care of her and her mother. This tells you something extremely dark about women. They don't remember loyalty. No, they remember the man who made them feel. Rose's husband gave her a life. Jack, all he gave her was emotion. And look who she's reminiscing about on her deathbed. You see, that's the truth men don't like to swallow. Women chase excitement, not stability. Security is respected, but passion is worship. So many people these days like to call Titanic a love story, but it's really a story of emotional betrayal romanticized by our gynocentric society. And the crazy thing is that Rose didn't even keep the 56-carat diamond that was also known as the heart of the freaking ocean. Why? Because it was Cal, the man she cheated on, who gave it to her. She threw that diamond away just like women throw away men who truly care about them. That movie wasn't fiction. It was a documentary on how female nature really works. Is exactly why I tell you guys to never commit to a woman who cannot be corrected. If she flips out every single time you call her out, you ain't in love, gang. You're in trouble. A woman who cannot be corrected cannot be led. This is the girl who fights you for the steering wheel, crashes the car, then blames you for the accident. She doesn't want to get it right. She wants to be right. And every time you correct her, she acts like you personally attacked her character. That ain't love, gentlemen. That's ego. Then she'll hit you with the, "You're controlling." Nah, bruh. You're just setting standards. She's just not used to discipline. Only attention. When you correct her and she gets defensive, it's not about the point you make. It's about the power she feels like she's losing. She'll call you toxic, manipulative, and cold, all because you told her the truth. And modern women don't just hate lies. They also hate accountability. If she cannot be corrected, then she cannot be trusted. Because the moment life gets real, she'd rather argue than adapt. A quality woman will check herself before you have to. She'll hear you out, she'll process it, and then she'll course correct. This is what wives do, not emotional toddler. You don't fix that kind of woman, gentlemen. You outgrow her. And respect isn't built on silence. It is built on an immediate correction that gets received and not rejected. And if you want to learn how to be the kind of man who can correct women and become the kind of man she respects, go to datingwisdom.net. Link in description and/or bio. The hard truth is that most men don't lose women. They lose leverage. And everything collapses after that. The mistake isn't loving her, guys. It's leading with emotion before structure. This is where the power quietly shifts. And I talk about this extensively in my book, How to Properly Vet Women for Long-Term Relationships, and you can find that on datingwisdom.net. When a man over-explains, over-gives, and over-invests early, he is teaching the woman one thing: I'll stay no matter what. Attraction doesn't just die from boredom. It also dies from predictability without authority. She already knows your next move, and when that happens, she stops respecting it. And this is where most men get confused. You're loyal, you're consistent, and you're emotionally available. But for some reason, she continues to pull back. Why? Because desire isn't built on effort. It's built on uncertainty and self-control. And unfortunately, most men these days eliminate both. Modern women don't test men with questions. They test men with situations. They test men with silence, boundaries, delays, temptation. Fail enough of those tests, and she doesn't argue. She simply repositions you. And during that time, she'll move you from partner to provider and eventually to background noise. And by the time she says, "I'm confused" or "I need space," the decision has already been made. You're just late to the reality. The men who win with women aren't colder. They're just clearer. They know when to invest, when to pull back, and when to walk away. Most men learn this after heartbreak, after wasted years, after financial and emotional damage. But the smart men learn it before any of this takes place. And if you want to avoid wasting times chasing the wrong women for the wrong reasons and wasting your time and money, head on over to datingwisdom.net for the best dating wisdom on the net. Link in description and/or bio. Most cases, but a man's biggest weakness isn't desire. It's urgency. Because the instant you rush to explain, fix, prove, or secure, you lose leverage. Women don't respond to speed. speed. They respond to stability. Speed feels emotional, while stability feels powerful. When you slow down, she leans in. When you overinvest, she evaluates exit plans. Most men give everything early and then wonder why nothing lasts. Scarcity isn't pretending to be busy. It's genuinely having a life that doesn't orbit validation. If your absence changes nothing, then your presence never meant much in the first place. So if you want to learn how to become the man she chases rather than the man she replaces, head over to datingwisdom.net. Link in description and or bio. It was an extremely expensive lesson for him, but what this shows is that most men lose not because they love. They lose because they love without leverage. Attraction doesn't grow from effort, gentlemen. It grows from self-containment. When a man is grounded, busy, and internally complete, interest follows. Overavailability feels safe to win. It feels like cheap attraction because they're rarely required to work for it. And what is always accessible is rarely respected. So here's the uncomfortable truth, guys. Care is powerful while neediness is expensive. These two things look similar to beginners, but their outcomes could not be more different. And the reason is because men confuse intensity with value. They think giving more builds connection. But in reality, it's the structure that builds connection. It's the boundaries that build the desire. The man who stays centered controls the pace, not because he's cold, but because he's not outsourcing his work. So love isn't lost because of restraint. It's lost because of overextension. Master your frame, or someone else will rewrite it for you. So in the end, most men don't fail at love. They simply fail at self-control. Intensity without structure is how you quickly and quietly lose respect. So if you want to learn self-restraint in the dating market, get your hands on my 25-hour course, Dating Wisdom A to Z, which can be found on datingwisdom.net. Link in description and or bio. The woman who helps you build doesn't compete with your mission. She aligns with it. She doesn't distract you from your purpose. She protects your focus. Her communication is calm, her energy is stable, and her intentions are clear. She doesn't create storms out of nowhere just to feel loved in the chaos. A woman who helps you build makes your life lighter, not heavier. Being with her feels peaceful, not exhausting. Men lose power without even realizing it. And the truth is that most men don't really lose women. They lose position. And once position is gone, everything else follows. See, gentlemen, power doesn't disappear loudly. It leaks. It leaks through over-explaining. It leaks through over-giving. It leaks through over-committing too early. The instant a man makes a woman the emotional center of his life, he stops being respected. Not because he's a bad man, but because he's a predictable one. I say this all the time, guys. Attraction is not built on effort. It's built on orientation. Who's moving towards whom? Who's adjusting? Who's chasing clarity? Men think consistency wins hearts, but consistency without standards only creates entitlement. A man with purpose does not compete with attention, he allocates it. And attention, when scarce, becomes far more valuable. The fastest way to lose leverage with a woman is to prove loyalty before loyalty is earned. Strength doesn't look aggressive, guys. It looks unavailable to nonsense. It looks calm. It looks measured. It looks unreactive. The man who can walk away never needs to threaten, he never needs to beg, and he never needs to explain himself. Most men don't fail with women because they care. They fail with women because they care without structure, and emotion without frame always collapses. So the lesson here isn't to love less, it's to love after respect is established. That order matters far more than intention. And men who understand this move differently, they choose differently, and most of all, they lose a lot less. So become the kind of man who wins by getting the best dating wisdom on the net at datingwisdom.net. Link in description and fall out of love, my guy. She just ran out of leverage. Guys, women do not abandon men they love. They abandon men they use. That's the truth nobody says out loud. Because if she walked away that easily, then she was never emotionally invested in the first place. Only strategically invested. You see, gentlemen, love creates patience, while convenience creates expiration dates. One burns warmly and extinguishes slowly, the other burns hot and extinguishes quickly. Learn the difference before it costs you years of your life. Because she didn't lose feelings, she lost access. And this is when the exit plan activates. A woman in love fights through storms, but a woman using you replaces you before you even realize that you are temporary. Fast exits are not betrayals, guys. They're exposure. She simply revealed her role in your life. As men, we tend to overthink closure, while women do not. Their actions speak where their words were silent. Because if she truly loved you, then your worst days wouldn't scare her away. Only opportunists leave when the weather changes. So the breakup wasn't the loss, the illusion was. Clarity hurts once, but ignorance bleeds forever. So let her go, man. She didn't leave because you weren't enough. She left because she was never yours to begin with. Your value didn't disappear when she left. If anything, her value got exposed. She didn't abandon love. She abandoned opportunity. And there is a huge difference. So in the future, do not romanticize women who see you as a resource. And if you want to learn how to tell the difference between a woman who is using you and a woman who is really into you, get your hands on Womanese 101, What You she says versus what she means, exclusively on datingwisdom.net. Link in description and or bio. I know this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but not every woman destroys men. Some women, and there are very few of them, but some women help men build without even trying. Their presence alone strengthens the man. A woman who helps you build doesn't compete with your mission. She aligns with it. She doesn't distract you from your purpose. She protects your focus. Her communication is calm, her energy is stable, and her intentions are clear. She doesn't create storms out of nowhere just to feel loved in the chaos. A woman who helps you build makes your life lighter, not heavier. Being with her feels peaceful, not exhausting. And this is very rare, guys. She respects your time because she respects her own. She values your decision because she values your discipline. Respect comes naturally with her, not through repeated reminders. She doesn't test your manhood, she trusts it. She doesn't push her boundaries, she honors them. She doesn't weaponize her emotions, she regulates them. That, gentlemen, is emotional maturity. A woman who helps you build doesn't confuse you, she doesn't drain you, and she doesn't punish you for being masculine. She encourages your masculinity because she wants a strong man. Her presence makes you work harder, dream bigger, and move smarter. She amplifies you without asking you to shrink for her comfort. The woman who builds with you is rare, and she's not found, gentlemen, she's recognized. And if you're lucky enough to meet her, treat her like an asset, not an accessory. And if you want to learn how to recognize women like this, get your hands on my book, How to Properly Vet Women for Relationships, which can be found exclusively on datingwisdom.net. Link in description and or bio. I know a lot of you guys won't believe this, but some women, believe it or not, do not ruin men on purpose. They ruin men because their nature is unstable, their mind is chaotic, and their heart is unanchored. The most dangerous woman isn't the cheater, it's the inconsistent one. The one who loves you today and forgets you tomorrow. This is the kind of woman who breaks you slowly. She destroys men without even trying because she doesn't even know what she wants. And when a woman does not know what she wants, she takes down every man who tries to give it to her. She's affectionate when she's bored, she's cold when she's distracted, she's sweet when she needs you, but distant when you need her. This woman drains men because she has no emotional stability, no self-awareness, no accountability, no boundaries, and no loyalty to herself. And a woman who isn't loyal to herself can never be loyal to a man. And the crazy thing is that you'll think you're the problem. You'll think she's stressed. You'll think you need to try harder. She's just incapable of a stable connection. This girl destroys men because men try to fix her, but you cannot build a home in a heart that is on fire. And eventually, her chaos becomes your personality and her instability becomes your anxiety. And the worst part about this is that, speaking from my own personal experience, she moves on quickly. And the reason why is because she never bonded deeply, only temporarily. You gave everything, she gave you her empty phases. The most dangerous woman is the one who doesn't heal. She will pass her wounds to every man she touches until one of them finally refuses to carry them. So if you want to be the man who finally tells her no, head on over to datingwisdom.net. Link in description and or bio. Modern women have changed drastically. We have had to adapt with this mindset, and I need you to listen closely. Modern women aren't harder to understand. They are harder to love because the world changed their minds faster than men learned the psychology. And this is where communities like this come into play. The hard truth is that women today do not choose you based on effort. They choose based on emotional stimulation. If you don't create emotional impact, you don't exist. Attention is the new currency, and she's rich. Every app, every DM, every like inflates her own value in her mind while lowering her patience in reality. And because of this, she doesn't bond slowly. She only bonds in extreme highs and lows. She chases intensity and not consistency. And this is why stable men get overlooked. Her freedom made her powerful, her options made her careless, and her independence made her confused about what she actually wants. Modern women are harder to love because they feel more than they understand, and they expect a lot more than they actually offer. She's chasing a version of herself that doesn't even exist yet. Gentlemen, you cannot love a modern woman blindly. For that, you need emotional intelligence, boundaries and discipline, detachment and masculine direction. Because without these in place, you will drown in her chaos. Most men today fail because they approach modern dating with old rules. You're trying to win her over with loyalty in a world where women punish it. If you want a woman today, you have got to understand this. Her behavior is shaped by trauma, social media, options, fear, ego, and subconscious tests she doesn't even realize she's running. If you don't understand that, you're entering a battlefield both blind and unarmed. So if you want to take off that blindfold and be equipped with the right tools to thrive in today's dating market, head over to datingwisdom.net. Link in description and or bio. Because a woman who gives her body to anybody will take everything from you and feel absolutely nothing. She has no value for herself, so why would she value you? If she lets every man in her bed, she lets every man in her mind. And you're about to inherit every insecurity and every emotional crack those men left behind. She ain't a free spirit, guys. She's emotionally unstable and using intimacy like a band-aid to cover up the wound she refuses to heal. And you become her temporary escape. Sleeping with a woman who sleeps with everyone isn't pleasure. It's contamination. You're taking on her past, her impulses, her addiction, addictions, and her chaos. Because if she doesn't respect her own body, then she'll never respect your energy, your time, your loyalty, or her future. Her lifestyle has already told you what her standards are, but you ignored them. A woman who can never say no to men can never say yes to one man. There's just no loyalty in her psychology, just an insatiable hunger for attention. We got a lot of men out here thinking they're winning by smashing these types of girls. Nah, player, you're losing your discipline, your emotional clarity, your standards, and your ability to bond. And men who understand this eventually grow out of the player phase. Because you want to know what's worse than losing a good woman? Getting attached to a woman who belongs to everyone and no one at the same time. You'll end up suffering trying to claim for yourself what every man has already had for free. Gentlemen, your future is way too valuable to be tied to someone who treats intimacy like a hobby and loyalty like an option. So if you want to learn how to choose wisely, get your hands on my 5-part 7-hour audio course, How to Build a Quality Woman from the Ground Up, exclusively on datingwisdom.net. Link in description and or bio. Because women will test you in ways you don't even notice. And these aren't attitude tests. These are instinct tests. So one example is the emotional endurance test. She'll tell you something disturbing or dark or painful or twisted. Then she sits back to see if you'll crack. And if you flinch or if you judge or if you get uncomfortable, she knows that you're not built for her reality. Another example is the micro disrespect test. Not a big disrespect, just a tiny one. Her tone, maybe a delay, a subtle mock. She wants to see if you'll catch the small things. Because the man who ignores small red flags always gets destroyed by the big ones. Another example is the future fake trap. What she'll do is she'll bring up future scenarios semi-casually. Would you travel with your girl? Would you allow this if you had a wife? She's checking your leadership vision, not your plans. Another example that trips most men up is the self-control test. This is when she tries to trigger you on purpose. Not to fight, but to see if you can stay composed under pressure. Because she knows that a man who cannot control himself cannot protect her. Another one that comes to mind is the social calibration test. She observes how you act with waiters, kids, strangers, and men larger than you. What she's doing here is she's testing to see if your confidence is real or just a performance. Another test that separates the men from the boys is the removal test. This is when she stops giving you affection, presence, or soft. Not because she's done, but because she wants to see if your behavior depended on her attention. That's the test that breaks 95% of men. Another important test is the loyalty versus self-respect test. She does something mildly unacceptable. Not cheating, but close enough to get your attention. She wants to see if you'll leave or stay because you're afraid of losing her. Staying means she loses respect. Leaving means she gains respect. Another test that comes to mind is the can you lead me out of my chaos test. And yeah, I know I just made that up, but listen carefully. What she'll do here is she'll give you a complicated emotional situation with no solution. She doesn't do this to dump on you. No, she does this to see how your mind works, how you strategize, how you stabilize. She understands that leadership is revealed in uncertainty. In the end, guys, female tests aren't always about ego. Sometimes they really are about survival. She wants and needs to know, can this man handle my reality without collapsing? Most men can't. But if you think passing her tests is enough, you're already behind the 8 ball, my guy. Because women don't just test. They communicate through signals, patterns, shifts, trauma responses, validation triggers, emotional reactivity, and silent withdrawals that destroy unprepared men. My entire catalogs of books and courses explains their whole psychology, step by step, so that you guys can stop guessing and start understanding. And you can get this wisdom at datingwisdom.net. Link in description. And damaged women aren't free-spirited, guys. They're validation dependent. If she's broken inside, she'll chase attention outside. When a woman has been abandoned or betrayed or abused, her body becomes her coping mechanism. Not out of desire, but out of emptiness. Every compliment, every DM, every reaction, none of those are interesting to her. It's just dopamine hitting a wounded ego. She can't sit with silence, and she can't sit with peace, because peace forces her to face herself, and she's been running from that for years. You think she loves you, but she loves the version of herself she becomes around you. And that's a big difference, guys. Because the instant you're not there, she seeks new attention. Not because she wants another man, but because the validation keeps her from collapsing. And the hard truth is that you cannot fill a void she refuses to confront. You cannot repair trauma that she denies. And the more you try to save her, the more she drains you. You cannot fix her, because broken women cannot be fixed. Stop bleeding for women who bleed on everyone else they meet. So it's very important for men to understand that a man's biggest losses never come from the world. They come from the woman he chose blindly. And if you want to avoid emotional chaos, financial traps, and years of regret, get over to datingwisdom.net. Because men who understand female patterns avoid 99% of the damage. Be one of those men. Get your hands on my books. Going very well for him, because it's what I always say. Men win in the end. Because losing a girl who seemed perfect doesn't mean you fail. It means you simply missed the signs that
she belongs to the streets.
Your eyes saw beauty, chemistry, and potential. But if you had experience, you would have seen patterns, characteristics, and consequences. You were focused on how she made you feel, but your instincts would have focused on who she'd have made you become. And there is a huge difference. Gentlemen, most people enter your life not to stay, but to expose what you would tolerate. So the lesson ends up being a gift. You called it love. Your experience would have called it a detour. Because if she left, it's because staying would have cost you your peace, your purpose, and possibly your future. Loss is sometimes protection in disguise, gentlemen. What hurts now would have destroyed you later. Your experience cuts early to spare you the deeper wounds. And remember, you mourned the woman you imagined, not the reality that would have unfolded. Because every fantasy looks perfect before time exposes it. Your experience won't remove people to punish you. It removes them when they are no longer aligned with who you're becoming. If you lost someone who felt perfect, you need to thank your experience. Because your experience saved you from a future you are not meant to survive. Think that's a bit hyperbolic? Think of how many stories you've heard or seen where men hit rock bottom, get their lives completely destroyed, or even take their own lives because they've been zeroed out by an unscrupulous spouse. Yeah, that's what I thought. But you don't have to learn the hard way like they did. Save yourself a world of hurt and head to datingwisdom.net. Monk mode, and it's effective for a reason. Because somewhere out there is a man who has no woman, no girlfriend, no situationships, no side chicks, no sneaky links, no nothing. Just silence. No calls, no texts, no good morning handsome dopamine hits. It's just him and the weight of his own life. Most men can't handle that. Most men need distraction. Most men need validation. Most men need some sort of noise to feel alive. But what most men do not understand is that this is the hardest path. Self-respect over attention. See, gentlemen, monk mode guy knows a weak man with women is still a weak man. He's in the gym when it's boring. He's working when it's lonely. He's learning when nobody applauds. And he's building when nobody's watching. No audience, no praise, no outside validation. He is ignoring cravings rather than chasing that instant gratification. He is building discipline, not just flirting with it for comfort. He's stacking days and money like bricks. This guy isn't unloved. He's just under construction. And construction requires isolation. This man is fixing his body, his mind, his money, and most of all, his standards. Because he knows exactly what comes next. Most men chase women to feel powerful, but this man becomes powerful so he never has to chase women again. So while you're out here trying to get chosen, he's becoming the man who chooses. Again, no girlfriend, no situationships, no side chicks, no sneaky links, no nothing. Just a future that you can't compete with. So if you're at a point in your life where you're ready to hit that reset button, monk mode is the only way to do it. And the good news is that it does not matter what your age is. It was something I noticed in my dealings with women, and most men don't even realize it's happening. But if you sit down and really think about it, you'll realize this is true. Most, if not every single woman you encounter will never ask you, am I good enough for you? Most of them ask, are you good enough for me? Gentlemen, it is very rare to find a woman who is more concerned with how she treats you than a woman who obsesses over how you treat her. And this is one of the main differences between women who are recreational use only and women of potential quality. You see, most women value relationships through one lens. How does he make me feel today? Every word, every text, every phrase, every scene with no reply, everything you do is scrutinized. And when it doesn't hit exactly the way she wants, it turns into this overly complicated review session. Simple conversations become complex negotiations. Minor arguments become feedback. And eventually, your relationship becomes a job. You're expected to adjust, explain, improve, and perform, all while she remains the judge, the jury, and the executioner. This is not a relationship, gentlemen. This is management. And this is where men get trapped. Instead of women asking themselves, how can I be the best woman for this man? She asks, how can I reshape this man to suit me? And when she starts asking herself this question, your relationship then becomes her little renovation project. And women do not respect men they feel like they have to change. And what ends up happening from here is that she hijacks your emotional bandwidth. Her feelings, her interpretations, her triggers, her needs, her tone, her energy, her vibe, all of this becomes the de facto customer service for her emotions. And most men feel this while most women deny it. But here is what almost nobody talks about. A woman who genuinely loves you does quite literally the opposite. She watches herself. She checks her own behavior before she audits yours. She asks questions like, was I fair to him? Did I support him today? Did I bring him peace or pressure? Did I respect the man I chose? Guys, these aren't women. They're a different damn species. And this species doesn't center the relationship on her moods. Instead, she centers it on the bond she made and the man inside it. She isn't looking for reasons to be offended or disobey. Instead, she looks for ways to be solid, supportive, and obedient to her man. And this is why women like this feel so rare to men like us. It's because she's not trying to control you. She's not trying to change you. She's trying to deserve you. She gives more than she takes. She adjusts before she demands. She communicates without turning you into the villain. And she respects the relationship instead of consuming it. Ladies, this isn't weakness. This is maturity. And the truly sad thing is that most men have never experienced this. This is so rare, in fact, that when it actually shows up, it almost feels fake. They think to themselves, there is no way she's this calm. There is no way she's this accountable. And there is just no way she's really this consistent. And I don't blame men like this, because if all you've seen is drama, genuine peace and submission looks and feels suspicious. However, you do need to know what it looks like, because life just might put that woman in front of you maybe once, if you're lucky. And if you fumble her because you're used to fighting, manipulation, gaslighting, and constant toxicity, you will spend years trying to replace what you didn't recognize. So here's a quick lesson on how to tell the difference. If she is more invested in your well-being than in policing your behavior, she might be worth taking seriously. If she holds herself to standards instead of only holding you to standards, she might be worth keeping around. If she brings you peace without making you feel like you have to ask or demand it from her, she might be a quality woman. These behaviors aren't just attraction. It's a potential relationship worth pursuing. And if you want to learn more about the difference between the kinds of women you use for fun and the kinds of women worth building with, get your ass over to datingwisdom.net. Exactly why I tell you guys that women never mean it when they apologize for disrespectful behavior. She knew what she was doing, and she knew it would affect you, but she did it anyway. It's not a mistake, gentlemen. That's a choice. Honest mistakes are blind. This was calculated. She watched your reactions, she read your messages, she felt the shift, and still she continued. Because when a woman truly respects you, she avoids what hurts you. But when a woman does not respect you, she will justify it. And as men, we just love to rewrite reality, don't we? She didn't mean it. She didn't know. It wasn't like that. Nah, player, she knew. She meant it. And trust me when I tell you, it was exactly like that. She wasn't confused. She wasn't innocent. She wasn't unaware. She was comfortable risking you. And here's the cold, brutal truth that most men can barely stomach hearing. Women will only gamble with you when they believe that you will stay. So don't argue, don't beg, and don't explain. Instead, let the consequences speak in a language she understands. That disrespect wasn't the action. It was the decision. And that decision was, I'm okay losing you. Again, she knew it would affect you, but she did it anyway. Never forget that. Because once you forget, you become that much easier to disrespect. And if you want to avoid that kind of disrespect, head on over to datingwisdom.net. How did I not see this coming? And the answer was simple. He either just wasn't paying attention or he was afraid to put his foot down. Guys, I am here to tell you, if your woman is dressing sexy to go out without you, she is already dressing up for somebody else. She might not know who it is at the time, but what she does know is that it ain't you. Women do not put on makeup, glue on eyelashes, and squeeze into a dress so tight you can see her pubic hair for just nobody to see. Women do not dress up in a way that says, look at me, for no reason. They do it for attention from men other than yourself. And we've all heard these excuses before, right? They'll say, it's just a girl's night out. Or, I just want to go to the club and shake my booty with my girls. Get the fuck out of here with that. A committed woman does not broadcast available energy to strangers. Ever. So when the effort flips away from you, it means that loyalty walked out that door a long time ago. That is the difference between attention and commitment, validation from strangers versus your respect, thirsty orbiters versus one consistent man. And the sad truth is that most women choose the latter far more frequently than the former, especially when they're young and hot. Gentlemen, a man does not allow this. He doesn't beg for her to come home early. He doesn't play detective, nor does he interrogate her the next day. He simply does not deal with this. You see, a man puts his foot down immediately, firmly, and quietly, because a high caliber man is not built to chase a woman who is auditioning for other men. He is not going to play backup to the guy or guys that she's entertaining on the side. Instead, the first time she tells him she's going out with the girls is the last time he takes her seriously for anything outside of a smash and pass. Learn how to deal with hot party girls and get what you want out of them without them taking their pound of flesh out of you by going to datingwisdom.net. Link in description or bio. Because as a man, you should have one of two things: a supportive woman by your side or no woman at all. And there is no in between here, guys. The reason for this is that a woman isn't supposed to be an extra problem. She's supposed to be an extra power. If she multiplies stress, she's not an asset. She is a liability. This is exactly why Jay-Z said, if you got girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. A woman who is truly an asset gives you peace, loyalty, encouragement, and stability. A woman who's a liability will give you doubts, arguments, distractions, and weakness. Pick your poison. Men don't lose to hard work. They lose to the emotional chaos in their relationships. And it's even worse if he's married, because a broken home destroys a man far more quickly than any enemy outside ever could. If she competes with you, questions your vision, punishes your ambitions, or turns your goals into guilt, she's not challenging you. She's sabotaging you. The right woman makes you sharper, while the wrong woman makes you smaller. And there is a world of difference between these two existences. But guys, I need you to keep in mind that a supportive woman doesn't need to be perfect. She just needs to be on your team. Same direction, same respect, same mission. And if you can't find that, then stay alone and build. Solitude can be expensive, but a bad woman will bankrupt you. A man with focus and peace will outgrow a man with love and drama every time. So the quick math here is that it's either a supportive woman or no woman at all. Because the whole point of a relationship is to build a stronger life, not survive a weaker one. Subscribe to the channel for more wisdom like this. And if she really is your woman, she can't be stolen, because other men will try to smash her girl. Other men are going to try to take her from you. But that's normal because men compete and women choose. So if she leaves you for another man, he didn't steal anything. She walked, because a loyal woman cannot be stolen, while a disloyal woman cannot be kept. And make no mistake, gentlemen, there is no middle ground here. A woman cannot be a little bit loyal, just like she can't be a little bit pregnant. You either are or you aren't. So if she can be taken, then she was never yours. She was only renting your time. So be grateful that she left you. It exposes her character and upgrades your standards. Because a woman who swaps men that easily was planning her exit long before you ever noticed. You just happened to catch the final scene. The real betrayal isn't when she leaves. It's when you waste your time missing her instead of leveling up. So if she gets stolen, you need to thank the man who took out your trash, then offer him your condolences when she does the same to him. So here's a rule that I know that most of you are probably aware of, but a rule I also know that most of you do not follow. Only pursue women who like you. As obvious as that sounds, most men ruin their lives chasing women who wouldn't pour water on them if they were on fire. If she doesn't show interest, she's not busy, she's not shy, and she's not confused. She just doesn't like you, my guy. Every time you chase a woman who's not into you, you're telling her, I am not enough, and she feels that. Women can smell desperation on a man like sharks smell blood in the water. Her attraction isn't something you build. It's primal. It's instant. She either feels it or she tolerates you until something better comes along. A woman who likes you makes it easy. Fast replies, soft energy, effort without being asked. No puzzles, no games, no resistance. A woman who doesn't like you gives you mixed signals, delays, attitude, and excuses. And you still try to prove yourself like a fool. High caliber men do not beg for interest. They select. They don't audition for women. Women audition for them. If you have to convince her, then you have already lost. Attraction isn't negotiated. It's either felt or it's not. And do you want to know what the cruel irony is about all this is? When you stop chasing women who don't want you, you unlock the women who do. So again, only pursue women who like you. Your life gets easier, your relationships get better, your masculinity gets sharper, and your dignity stays intact. Because a man who chases resistance will always lose to the man who walks away from it. And if you want to be the man who walks away, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Goes behind every great man is a great woman. And it's true. Maybe 2% of the time, because these days, 98% of bitches really ain't shit. But there's another saying that is far more accurate given the state of modern relationships. And that saying is, behind many successful men is a woman who left when life got hard. I want you guys to let that sink in for a minute. He didn't leave because he was bad. She left because he was building. And building is always ugly before it's beautiful. You see, she wanted the finished man without the unfinished years. She wanted the crown without the weight. She wanted the reward without the risk. You see, gentlemen, she walked out during the storm and called it self-respect. She said she left to find herself. She'll tell all of her friends and family that she abandoned you because you two were just incompatible. But it wasn't her fake standards that caused her to leave. It was impatience. And a man remembers that. He doesn't remember the arguments. He doesn't remember the insults. But what he does remember is the timing. When he needed belief, she needed comfort. And when she leaves, something within him hardens. Not into hatred, but into clarity. And that is when the work gets hard. Gym, business, discipline, silence. He stops talking and starts stacking, because pain becomes fuel when you stop begging for love and start earning power. Then when he wins, all of a sudden she says, I've always supported him. Suddenly she misses what they had. No, bitch, you missed what he became. You see, gentlemen, women don't regret leaving weak men. They regret leaving men who leveled up. And that regret ages at about the same rate she does. But the man doesn't hate her for it. In fact, he's thankful because she taught him an extremely valuable lesson. And that lesson is that love without loyalty is just a distraction. So again, behind many successful men is a woman who left during his most difficult time and unintentionally did him the biggest favor. She removed herself so that he could level up and become the unstoppable man he eventually became. Subscribe now and hit the notification if you want to have that same mindset. Those of you who have followed me over the years know that one of my hard and fast rules is to never date your coworkers. Ever. For any reason. You think it's convenient? It's not. It's 2 incomes, 1 HR department, and 0 escape routes. Because when the relationship is good, it's distracting, which affects your work performance. And when the relationship is bad, it's suffocating, which affects your work performance. When you date your coworkers, arguments do not stay private and the breakups are never clean. And that's if you're still employed when she decides to finally pull the ripcord. When you date your coworkers, you lose leverage instantly. She gains proximity, you lose abundance, and rumors gain momentum very quickly. One bad move, just one bad moment, and you're the headline. And when the shit hits the fan, do you really think HR is going to take your side? You think your coworkers will side with you? Think again. Work is where you build value. Dating is where you spend energy. If you mix the two together, both suffer. Gentlemen, there are billions of women out there, but there is only one workplace. Risking your livelihood for regular sex, that's low IQ behavior, guys. And I'm not excluding myself here because I've made this mistake more times than I'd like to admit. But this is exactly why I can give you this advice with confidence. The late great Alan Roger Curry once said, never get laid where you get paid. And he was absolutely right. Don't mix money with emotions, guys. Do not gamble your future for temporary chemistry. This rule exists because many men have learned this lesson the hard way, myself included. Do not be the example. Do not risk your career or livelihood. Do not date your coworkers. Because if you do, either one or both of you will no longer be with the company in 6 months or less. And if it's only one of you who goes, which one do you think it'll be? Subscribe to the channel for more wisdom like this. Maybe a year or two older than me, but I had to keep it real with him. I had to tell him, hey man, you're single because you're looking for 90s love in a hookup generation. In 2026, men want loyalty while women want options. Men want effort while women want convenience. And both of these are a mismatch from day one. A lot of you guys out here are dating with old rules, and you're doing this in a world that rewards detachment, emotional unavailability, novelty, and exit plans. Back in the day, love was built in the silence, but now attention is traded in public. Different game, same word. I had to tell Steve that he is searching for depth in a culture addicted to dopamine. That ain't romantic. That's naive. You bring patience, they bring drama. You bring intention, they bring comparison. And modern dating doesn't punish disloyalty. It rewards it with more options. That's the system we're playing in, gentlemen. So you're not unlucky. You're just operating with outdated expectations. Because the men who win with women today do not beg for old love. They adapt, they screen more carefully, or they walk away entirely. I'm not saying that 90s love was fake. It just doesn't live here anymore. So you can either adjust your standards to reality, or you can accept solitude with dignity. Either decision beats the hell out of delusion. To this day, I regret ever having pursued her. So the lesson here, guys, is that no matter the situation, no matter the excuse, never ever touch another man's wife. I don't care how unhappy she is. I don't care how easy she makes it. I don't care how shamelessly she moves. That's not opportunity, guys. That's a test. Because a woman who does not respect herself will offer herself to anyone. But a man with a spine knows when to walk away. Sleeping with another man's wife isn't alpha. It's not winning, and it damn sure isn't status. It's situational and emotional poverty. Because you're not just disrespecting him, you're disrespecting his name, his family, his bloodline, and even his ancestors. Successful civilizations were built on one rule. Men respected other men's households. Hell, even the Bible tells men, thou shalt not covet another man's wife. Break that rule and you don't become powerful. You become untrustworthy. Because a man who violates another man's home is a man who can never be trusted around other men. High caliber men don't steal scraps. They don't move in the shadows. They don't take what brings chaos. High caliber men choose order over impulse. Just because she belongs to the streets does not mean you have to walk out there with her. And just because she let other men smash does not make it any less damaging if you do it too. Self-control is masculine. Restraint is power. So you can respect women who are respectable, but you must always respect your fellow man. Because the man who betrays another man's home will eventually lose his own. Not because of karma, but because of cause and effect. Because a man who makes other men's wives his targets will eventually have his woman targeted. That's the code. Break that code and you will pay dearly. If you or someone you know is seeking guidance, needs advice, or has a question about dating, relationships, and/or marriage, Join me this afternoon, February 22nd at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific for my free weekly one-on-one Sunday consultations. You do not have to appear on camera and you do not have to disclose your real name. Simply follow the join link pinned at the top of the chat from any smartphone, tablet, laptop, or desktop computer, and I will answer any and all questions you have about your situation. And yes, ladies, I'm happy to help you too. Link in description.